All right. Back on the Rob Dibble Show with Ben Darnell in your afternoon drive. John Ashmead is on the video for YouTube. Kurt Kaplan keeping us on the air on the ones and twos. Fight over the weekend between the White Sox and the Guardians. Right now, the Guardians, 4 games underwater, 4.5 out of first place. Minnesota Twins, 4 games over 500. They are at the top of the American League Central. Chicago White Sox, 45 and 68, 14 games out of first place. And not only did they lose the fight with Tim Anderson versus Jose Ramirez, then it comes out now that players that have been traded, Kenyon Middleton to the Yankees, Lance Lynn, who has been around the league a little bit. This guy's very talented. He's now pitching for the LA Dodgers. Now it comes out that there's not a lot of discipline going on in that locker room. And it's kind of disappointing because Hall of Fame manager Tony La Russa was there while Lance Lynn was there. Last year they were 81 and 81 to finish the season. White Sox well below that right now and totally embarrassing themselves, not only the way they're playing, but also in the boxing community. And then now you find out that even the rookies are falling asleep in the bullpen. I mean, it's apparent that Jerry Reinsdorf needs to make some decisions, not just in the front office, but down with the coaching staff. You've run through different coaches here over the last 3-4 years. None of them are sticking. None of them are making an impact. And I think that that's where we are right now with a lot of these teams, where if you're not getting through to today's player, meaning the way these guys have come up through the ranks, most of them like in Perfect Game or AAU or however they've gotten there through college, you need to maybe start doing, and I kind of like what Jim Moore did, getting the local younger football coaches to get on board because you have to get through to these young men. You can't have it out there on the street right now that the organization is in tatters and trying to put a good product on the field. That's not enough. You need to have these guys actually on the same page.
And so many of them haven't gotten better. Looking at Moncada, remember that guy?
He was one of the main cogs when the Red Sox signed him. Obviously, they knew something when they signed him out of Cuba, and then he was one of the main, along with Kopech. For Chris Sale was one of the main guys. And, Verdugo was for Mookie Betts. Yet at least Verdugo has been very productive for the Boston Red Sox. Moncada has not been.
But when I hear the stuff that came out about the White Sox and what Lance Lynn said, and also with Middleton.
Yes, Middleton.
Not surprised. I'm looking at the record, looking at who they have, looking at the way they've done business the last 5 years. Not surprised. Remember old Tony La Russa can't communicate to these youngsters anymore. He wants to, tell them how to really do things in Major League Baseball, and he got shut down because of that. Remember all that? Not surprised. Not surprised that these dudes are sleeping in the bullpen. They're drunk. They don't care about half of these games in the regular season. Not surprised when I hear that.
Well, listen, Tim Anderson's an all-star. There's a reason why he's underperforming this year. Yeah. Benintendi comes on the team. Yeah, he's hitting around 280, but he's got 2 home runs. He's better than that.
I think Tim Anderson's wasting his time.
Louis Robert Jr. is right up there with the lead leaguers. I think he's second now with 30 home runs. It's being wasted, 270. The guy that it's kind of crazy, the 2 guys really, Eloy Jimenez and Yasmani Grandal. Those are guys that, Grandal was brought in on a huge contract, one of the biggest ever given to a catcher in that organization's history. Benintendi is the highest paid player ever brought in the organization, more of a stats gathering kind of guy, on base percentage analytics kind of guy. But Eloy Jimenez was supposed to be the heir apparent. This guy was supposed to be the future of the White Sox. And right now, hitting 279, 13 and 48, mostly in the DH. You got rid of Jose Abreu, went to the Houston Astros. Yeah, he's kind of an aging superstar. But these guys are under performing, and you can no longer just keep trading some of your pieces off that are underperforming when half of your starting offense is doing it.
We'll see this week. They have the Yankees starting tonight in a little 3-game set. These are later ball games, an hour back from what you're used to. A little central time for everybody. It's an 8:10 first pitch tonight right here on this station. Oh, wouldn't you know? It's a Garrett Cole day for the New York Yankees.
Coltrane is at the station.
And he's going up against a guy who didn't think he was going to be in a White Sox uniform this week. Dylan Cease thought he was going to get moved with some of those other White Sox, but he is on the team, and he is pitching tonight against those New York Yankees, who I thought did decent in the split against the Astros over the weekend. Decent.
Lost 2, 1-1, 3-1. It's still surprising the way they approached, pitching at the plate. But I think Sean Casey's getting through to a handful of guys.
Okay.
A handful of guys.
Why do you think that?
Because some guys are actually starting to hit the ball the other way. They're trying to put the ball in play with 2 strikes, cutting down on their massive softball swiping swings. But it's not a great lineup. It's a very one-dimensional lineup, very slow. They're sluggish on the base pass. They don't steal a lot. And you see some of these guys come up from AAA, and they've got better speed, but they're young. They should have better speed. But that's a problem. When you're building a lineup looking for the 3-run home run all the time and then striking out 14, 15 times a game. And it's just not gonna get you a lot of wins. Your pitching staff is keeping you in games. Rendon did not look good yesterday. I watched him. I was surprised at how quickly he fizzled out, and it was really got through the lineup, get into the lineup the second time, and you're already out of the game.
He's struggling. Man.
I know, and I think a lot of it has to do with A, he's not confident. B, he's trying to live up to some of the price tag of the contract. But I just don't agree with a lot of the calls of these pitches. Throwing 2-3 curveballs in a row at any level, you're going to get your butt kicked because you're showing your hand too much. This guy throws 95, 97. Try going through the lineup one time with just a fastball, like 4-seam, 2-seam, 4-seam, 2-seam, run some stuff, go up and in, go down and away. I mean, the way games are called now is beyond me. It's really helping some of these, and your 7, 8, 9 guys that you're facing that are beating up on you, throwing them way too many off-speed pitches. Do you recognize the bad swings anymore? Like, I know when a guy's on you, the ball's going straight back to the backstop, right? When a guy's not, he's late and he fouls it off the opposite way softly, he's not on my fastball. So why would you come back with a breaking ball the next pitch that gets whacked for a double the other way? That's, again, a lot of this is basically basic 101 baseball that these guys, I don't know if they're not paying attention or the details or even the scouting reports somewhere in the communication to get prepared for these games. Some guys are not doing it right, and guys like Garrett Cole are totally locked in. Almost like maybe Garrett Cole should be the guy running the pitching meetings instead of this guy that's a sequencing genius. It's time for that Matt Blake dude to be gone.
Now that we've had a weekend to digest this, Kurt was on it Friday before the show ended and asked us this question. We were wondering what the fallout would be, but Anthony Rizzo now on a concussion protocol. It has been found that he was playing with a concussion for a couple of months, maybe a month and a half. Do you think the MLBPA has a say-so in this, and what are they waiting for if they don't?
He probably got, his agent probably said what's wrong, and then the Players Association gets into it and says, what's going on with the medical staff, what kind of routines do you have? What kind of neurosurgeons have looked at him and kept up with it after he was in the concussion protocol and came out? But listen, the brain is a crazy thing, man. You don't know a lot about it, and to have him be like 2 months removed and then still in it, it's scary and should be addressed so that it doesn't happen again, or you try to keep it from happening again. But there was something, you knew something was wrong with this guy. He wasn't the same guy. He's not the same guy he's been the last 3 years with the Yankees. So I just think that I feel bad for Rizzo. I feel bad for the Yankees. But, Major League Baseball has to be better. Just like we said this about the NFL 10 years ago with the CTE stuff.
Right.
Do better. Just do better so that these guys don't have to struggle and hopefully risk their lives to go out there and play baseball.
I agree with that 100% because I'm not like, I'm somewhat mad at the Yankees. Rizzo's one of my faves. Definitely a top 25 player in my book for me. And when I saw him go down with this, I was a little upset by it. But then I think about just my own personal experience of playing football in the late 90s. And, like, what, am I going to blame my coaches for not knowing crap about concussions? No, I didn't know anything about concussions really until the movie came out in CTE, which was so enlightening. And I kept thinking, like, man, really? Gosh, I was stupid, and so were all my coaches. And I do think it's more in the forefront for football. It's more in the forefront for girls soccer. It's more in the forefront for places that you see concussions commonly. You don't see it in baseball that much.
Right.
You do. You have it. But I think this is a first step example, and it's unfortunate that he has to live through it, and it's unfortunate this is the New York Yankees. But like Dib said, you got to learn from this. And you've got to now have this a part of all your medical staffs and concussion protocol, which includes checking up on these guys long afterwards. And if you weren't doing that before, you better get doing it because, okay, it happened this one time with the New York Yankees. Okay, I can see how you're not 100% up on concussions in Major League Baseball as like the NFL is. But no more excuses. It can't happen again going forward.
The positive, like you said, from the weekend was Nestor Cortez's start, went 4 innings. They probably had on a pitch limit. He got around 65. They pulled him, but he did have 8 strikeouts, gave up the 1 home run. Very nice job by the pitching staff, by the way. They struck out 16 Astros on Saturday. Verlander went 7 strong. In the loss.
I thought he was all right?
I thought he was all right. 97 pitches. He's back with his old club. Didn't get the victory, but I just think, like I said, Yankees being held together by a shoestring, and a lot of it's their pitching staff. And it's, when you go along, there's points where, okay, now the hitters are going to carry us for a couple of weeks. I keep waiting for the Yankees hitters to start carrying the load. They did only strike out 4 times, 8 times in the first game. Like I said, they're putting more balls in play with 2 strikes. Like to see them put more balls in play with runners in scoring position. But it's baby steps. Baby steps with Sean Casey. And I just think that, listen, I'm not saying going away from analytics is going to help them either. There's certain things that got you to the major leagues that you kind of have to look back on and say, okay, that's how I got here. This is what I should probably be doing more of instead of too much of one thing and, having some kind of happy medium. The New York Yankees are a very talented team. The New York Mets are a very talented team. The New York Mets losing 6 straight games after the trade deadline. It's not just all about the trade deadline or all about what comments were made. It's all about, accountability and looking in the mirror. I feel sick for Buck Showalter. He's a good man. He's a good manager. I did have, what are the statistics from last year? So last year, they're not in front of me. Here they are. They are in front of me. Last year, check these statistics out. Yankees and Mets on this date, 70 and 39 each. Yankees were up 9.5 games in the American League East. Mets were up 6.5 games in the National League East.
Really?
This was the same time last year.
2022.
2023. Yankees, 4.5 out of first place, are 58 and 54. It's not awful. It's respectable, and especially in that division.
Yeah.
Mets are awful. 11 underwater, 7.5 out of the wild card right now at 50 and 61. That, to put it into perspective, guy makes a huge investment. I don't want to even say it was throwing money because I think he was going with the people that were giving him advice. Bring in this guy, bring in this guy, bring in this guy, call up these guys. So you're going with your baseball people. The baseball people have failed Steve Cohen, not the baseball players. The baseball people giving him to do some cleanup, a little bit of like PR work, also clean it up, and now moving forward. Moving forward, you got to develop your minor league system. Once again, when I was playing, I hate to say that, Yankees, Mets, always one of the top 5 minor league systems out there. Always able to retool from within. Didn't have to go out there and spend an excessive amount of money on free agency all the time to try to win games. Right now, both organizations doing that, spending way too much money on guys that have won for other organizations, bringing them in, thinking if we bring in 10 new guys and 8 new guys and meshing them with the nucleus that's going to win us championships. I don't think that always works.
Kind of disappointed in Cohen's disappointment that he writes to the fans all the time. Like, does Cohen always have to be this apology guy for the fan base? I know he is one. I know he made promises, but
5 years from now, I think you'll see a different Steve Cohen.
I think so too. I think he's learning a lot about being an owner here in 2023.
Well, I think, listen, he didn't become a billionaire 13 times over by listening to too many people, but he hires the right people, and I think this is another business. You have to hire the right people, maybe hire the right head of scouting to start, the head of the minor leagues, maybe hire that guy, because they have brought up some really good talent over the years. But again, it's few and far between. And right now, the just throwing money at these older free agents didn't work the last couple of years.
Man, if they could only find a guy like a Davis Schneider. Who in the hell is Davis Schneider, Boston Red Sox? What? That's who beat them this weekend?
Yeah.
Some kid? They found in New Hampshire?
Hey, Toronto Blue Jays, dude. Good minor league system. I should say great minor league system.
Top to bottom,
Look at the nucleus of that team.
Yeah.
And then you sprinkle in some free agents here and there. And then trade for some.
One of the best debuts ever in Major League Baseball history against the Boston Red Sox.
We'll take a quick break. We will come back and give you some dibbles and bits next.